All right, so this is a mixed review day, so it's going to combine the things that we learned on Monday and Tuesday, and then what you saw in your video lesson yesterday, and and then what we're going to do is we're just going to really add in some quadratics and then some other questions here. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to do problem number 1 and number 2. All right, I'm going to do this with you. And then what you're going to do is for the rest of the class period and then for your homework, you're going to finish the rest of this packet and then check your answers on the back of it. And you're then going to check the entire completed answers on our Google Drive lesson. You can see all the work worked out just in case you have any errors or issues, all right? So if I'm going too fast, pause. If I'm going too slow, speed up. So here we go. So number 1, all right, understand this. Every quadratic must be solved by factoring. So I do not want you using quadratic formula. Is that understood? Great. So let's start with number 1. What is the length of the longest segment? So that's the question they're asking. But if you look, can you figure out the longest segment the way it is? No. You have to figure out the value of x first. So this right here is asking you to use the angle bisector theorem, meaning that this angle bisector is going to create the ratio that will set this problem up. Remember, your angle bisector is now going to create the ratio of 6 over x plus 3, so this over this, is equal to the adjacent side here, 2x, over the other adjacent side, 3x. All right, so it's part over part equals side times side. So, all right, in the angle bisector theorem, that's the ratio that it creates. So now we're going to solve for the value of x. So we're going to get 2 times x plus 3. So I'm just going to show my work. 2 times x plus 3 equals 6 times 3x, which is 18x. So now, to simplify, we will distribute. So we're going to get 2x squared plus 6x equals 18x. Now, if you look at it, this is a quadratic, but it's a quadratic without a c value, which means that we're going to still solve it the same way, get it equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract 18x on both sides. So I'm going to be left with 2x squared minus 12x equals 0. All right, but because you don't have a constant here, this is one of those special ones. Because we don't have a constant, we're going to solve this by factoring out a GCF. So I'm going to be able to factor out 2 from both 2x squared and negative 12x. I'm also going to be able to factor out an x, leaving me with x minus 6 equaling 0. So both of these are going to give me a solution. 2x is going to give me a solution of x equals 0, and x minus 6 is going to give me a solution of x equals 6. So these are my 2 solutions. But can we keep both of them? And the answer is no, because you cannot have a side length of 0 in this. We have to get rid of the 0, and this is our only answer, x equals 6. Now, the question didn't say what's the value of x. It says what's the length of the longest segment. So since x equals 6, we're going to put 6 in all these. So 2 times 6 is 12, 3 times 6 is 18, and 6 plus 3 is 9. So what's the longest segment? Our longest segment is, I believe this is a T up there. TP is longest. And that's your answer. And that only can be answered because you found this. You found the value of x. And we used the angle bisector theorem. So, factoring, angle bisector theorem, reviewing, all in one. Gotta love it. All right, number 2. Our last problem, and then you're going to get started. This says, what is the length of the altitude? Now this right here is a diagram that we've seen the last 2 days. This is altitude the hypotenuse theorem. Now depending on how you solve it now, do you use the shortcut or do you use the 2 similar triangles or 3 similar triangles? That will change how your process is. I use the shortcut. And what I do is I see in this big right triangle, all right, in my big right triangle, the side that I'm going to use is not a leg, but I'm going to use the altitude, all right, the altitude here. The altitude is what I'm going to use in this problem. So let me erase and let me show you what I'm going to do. All right. I'm going to go and I'm going to do altitude squared is equal to left times right. So I'm going to go in different colors. Ready? I'm going to go x plus 10. Come on, buddy. Oh, man. X plus 10 squared. All right, so x plus 10 squared is equal to left times right. So it's 16 times 25. Now, here is the trick, and this is why I love this and why I want you to see it. X plus 10 squared does not mean x squared plus 100. X plus 10 squared means x plus 10 times x plus 10 equals 16 times 25, which is 400. You have to expand x plus 10 squared. That's what that means. So now we double distribute. So you're going to get x squared plus 10x plus 10x. You get that there. And then plus 100 equals 400. And again, we have a quadratic. So I'm going to subtract 400. Oh, baby. Uh-oh, it's moving on me. I'm going to subtract 400 on both sides. And I'm going to be left with x squared. Now, this is a like term. 10x and, or negative 10, or sorry, positive 10x and positive 10x. Sorry, my writing's kind of bad. All right, which gives you positive 20x. And then your constant, positive 100 minus 400 is negative 300 equals 0. All right, so now this is going to factor. Everything is factoring, no quadratic formula. So since our a value is 1, it's x and x. And now we think, what two numbers multiply to 300 but add to 20? And this is plus 30 and minus 10. Because 30 times negative 10 is negative 300. 30 plus 10 is 20. So this means my x value here is negative 30. My x value here is 10. So can you have a negative x value or a negative side length? No. So we can't use the negative 30. So x equals 10 is my value, my answer. So when I put this in, the question says, what's the length of the altitude? I'm going to go 10 plus 10 is altitude is 20 meters. And that's your answer. So you got to make sure that you answer the question that's being asked, all right? Again, quadratics must be solved using factoring, all right? Answers are on the back. If you want to see how the exact answer is done, please make sure that you look at the lesson that's on the Google Drive, all right? Thank you. Have a great day. Be good to the sub, and I'll see you tomorrow.